we're going to shift to Bitcoin because you really like Bitcoin, and apparently some stuff has happened with it this week. I was reading an article about Bitcoin, and I hope Brad comes back before we talk about calories because that was under his craw. Bitcoin declined 6% in a week, even as NASDAQ raised to record high levels. What do you think about that?
We're in a range. We're in a range between 60,000 and 73,000. This is what happens after the halving. Typically every time is there's this sideways chop that people get frustrated and they're like, oh my God, it went up 6%, or oh my God, it went down 6%. But it's just normal. It's normal for any financial asset to get in a range. So I don't know. I think September, October time, you're going to see some moves. I think the Fed is going to turn on the spigot a little bit here towards the end of the year to help the economy and help Biden win. And that will raise asset prices. Alternatively, there's been a theory I've been looking into a little bit that we're headed towards deflation, which would actually be bad, which everything would come down. Mm-hmm. It would be bad in the short term for assets, which is great for Bitcoin because you just buy it when it goes down.
Yeah.
So I think there's some possibility that everything comes down here for the end of the year due to deflation. But I think the higher likelihood is we're in sideways chop, but we're ranging between 60,000 and 73,000, whatever the all-time high is. And it'll kind of bounce between those areas up and down until September, October, in which place.
So your financial advice for everyone watching is to go dump their savings in Bitcoin.
No. I bought this cycle when it was around 19, 20,000. And that's when I added to my position and I'll just sit on it. Would I buy at 60? I'm not putting additional capital to it at 60 because I don't know what'll happen. It's hard to buy towards all-time highs. What I would say is if you're willing to just sit on it for 5 or 6 years, sure, put a little bit in. Don't put your whole nut in there.
Yeah.
But you could put a little bit in and watch it go up over 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's mathematically built to go up. There's a limited supply. We now have institutional investors buying in through the ETF. It's going to go up mathematically. It just makes sense.
So is this a watershed moment? Well, I mean, obviously, let's get back to the reason that you wanted to talk about Bitcoin, which was the hedging.
Oh no, it was Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick here in Texas. He came out with a tweet. I'll try to summarize what the tweet said. He said, PUC announces that we're going to need 150,000 megawatts of power by 2030. And a lot of this is due to Bitcoin mining. And this is 30,000 more megawatts than previously projected. And we shouldn't be allowing Bitcoin mining because it's too energy intensive and it's going to put too much strain on the grid. And that's what sparked the Bitcoin interest, is that our, Lieutenant Governor here in Texas is suggesting Texas make the wrong move on Bitcoin mining in particular.
Yeah, interesting. I did not see that, but it's interesting because I did read an article and I just pulled it up. This article I read back in March, and it was about a small town just outside of North Texas, I believe, that had a
Rockdale.
Yeah, and just how it was making the lives of people near there terrible. I don't know if that's true or not, or if this was just like a salacious article meant to rile people out. But and so I assume that that's part of this. It is recently state residents that live near large-scale mining facilities have begun to complain about adverse second-order effects, noise pollution generated by cooling systems to keep mining hardware from overheating. Somebody's quoted saying there's a tremendous amount of vibration that goes through the air, goes through the walls of people's homes. But at the same time that he said that, he was also running for an office, so can't necessarily. People saying they can't sleep at night, they're having adverse health effects. So, I mean, is it worth it, right? Is it worth if this proves to be true? There's obviously the annoyance of being near this stuff, sound, whatever. Then now there's this complaint about the grid and putting the strain on the grid, and then allegedly adverse health effects. Where do we weigh that? What should be the case? Should it just, as of right now, it doesn't seem the state has many regulations over Bitcoin mining facilities. So it looks like Lieutenant Governor wants to bring the state into that. Is it worth it? Or do you think the negative effects are worth the state stepping in?
Well, I think you have to look out 20, 30 years. I mean, is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain, is it a emergent industry, or is it something that's here now and then it's going to go away? So you're kind of making a bet on that. I think it's an emergent tech or industry, and that it's going to be a significant part of the future economy. And I think it would be a huge mistake for Texas to make it prohibitive to invest in that technology and that industry here in Texas. Why? Because on the yeah, there's reports of it being, there's reports of, hey, Brad,
Hi. What are the reports? What are the reports telling you?
there's reports of the negative consequences of living next to a Bitcoin mine, like you just mentioned, but there's also the positive impacts. They pay huge amounts of taxes. Obviously, the property tax that goes to school districts. Rockdale ISD is receiving gobs and gobs of money from this Bitcoin facility. They pay franchise tax to the state, a big amount there too, and then they also pay a significant amount of energy costs. So if you have a grid that needs investment, why would you stop high users from coming onto the grid that can pay more in energy costs, and then you can reinvest those monies into improving the grid? I think that the state of Texas should embrace it. They should consider building their own mines with their own power plants connected to. Because the other thing nice about Bitcoin mining is you can use latent energy that's just sitting there not producing at the moment. You can hook up to a Bitcoin mine, and then when it's not producing, you can turn on the energy to run the Bitcoin mine. And then you're mining Bitcoin, which is an asset for the state, which is going to grow in value over time. So why wouldn't you?
Well, I think the state now, then they'd be the ones who are being complained on by the. So I pulled up this article from Marathon, one of the ones that was running a Bitcoin mining facility up in North Texas. They constructed a 24-foot high, 2,000-foot long soundproofing wall in October 2023 to alleviate the issue for the community. However, residents of Granbury said during a town hall that the noise still permeates their home. They have sleep disturbances. It upsets livestock. They're nauseous. No, apparently it's still really bad. I do think that there's probably some real and there's probably some unrecognized and unrealized concerns as well in terms of just living. I mean, I don't think radiation's probably an issue, but just being near massive cooling and heating and all this stuff that we might not find out for another 50 years. And so I do get some of their concerns. If there was a way to give back to some of these communities in the sense that they're generating all this revenue and these communities now get a cut of it, and maybe each person gets this is just, I'm just throwing this idea out there. I'm not co-signing it or anything. I'm just saying an idea. They get a check every month for living in a town that has a heavy Bitcoin mining facility, and it alleviates those concerns. Like Alaskans get a check from the Alaska Permanent Oil Fund every year. Something like that maybe may do the issue if the state's going to get involved in Bitcoin mining. But it seems like there's some concerns they got to address first.
Well, if there are health concerns, you got to address those, but move the mines away from people. There's additional investment in energy infrastructure to get the energy to the mine. Sure, I understand that. But if that's the concern, just move them away from people. We can manage that problem. As far as being, Texas is one of the largest economies in the world, and if we're just going to block ourselves off from this, like I said, emergent industry, we're making a big mistake. There's got to be a way to get to do both, and there's always costs to doing things. There's never anything's ever going to be perfect or without negative consequences. So you just have to do it the right way. And I think Dan Patrick is making a bad mistake.
Oh, so we're talking about Dan Patrick and ERCOT and the massive increase in energy. What is it?
Need. Yes. So just to summarize, they're saying that you will need, or the state of Texas within 6 years will need to grow from about 85,000 megawatts to 150,000 megawatts. And I'm sorry?
That's not good.
And Patrick is saying that crypto miners and data centers will be responsible for over 50% of that added growth.
Why is that not good?
Why is that not? Well, it's not good in the sense that they're not going to do it the right way. So it's just they're gonna build more solar panels and fucking wind farms, and it's just not going to work. And they shouldn't. They should. Why are they going to do that? Because they'll get subsidies from the federal government. They subsidize that shit already. It's green energy. It's also. It's like the future. I mean, that's what they're going to do. Are they going to build more coal plants? No. Are they going to build more natural gas? Probably not. Maybe. Are they going to build some nukes? Definitely not.
So I could see some aliens.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what they should do, right? They should do that, and then I wouldn't be saying this is not good. I would be like, all right, well, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
you'll build some good power plants that'll like sustain that, and bring us above that, and make sure that everything works. But they're not going to do that.
Yeah, but the state just passed 2 bills related to this last session. One was the economic incentives package, which they removed renewables from. They're not eligible under the state program. So, and second, they talked about building a new natural gas plant that would be owned by the state, investing state resources into a natural gas plant. We're the largest producer of natural gas in the world. The state of Texas is.
Yeah.
So to say that more energy is bad, why? We're an energy state. Let's produce it. Let's go.
Hold on. Well, who's saying that more energy is bad?
You.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. It's not even close to us. I didn't say more energy.
Okay.
After that.
Then Dan Patrick's saying it by saying we can't build that much capacity. Why? Why?
Well, no. I think he's saying that we can, but that Texans will be the ones paying the price for it rather than. Okay, I think he's saying 2 things. One, that Texans will be the one that pays price for it, but 2, that the capacity isn't there now, and how's that going to come online? Like, what does that actually look like before we get to a place where they're sucking so much out of the system that we're doing rolling blackouts and stuff like that? That's what I think he's saying. It would be interesting if there was a way for everybody to have like a personal Bitcoin mining thing at their house and contribute to the program while also getting a cut if we're going to be moving forward in that direction. Like, I don't know what it takes.
You can do it right now. A starter system would cost you about $5 to $10 grand to build yourself a little home Bitcoin mine, and it's just a computer program that's running.
Energy
takes
cost
a lot of energy.
skyrocket.
The energy costs will go up.
But how much would I make?
I don't know.
I mean, at this point, I don't know that it's worth. Like, I don't think it's economic. Michael, well, I'm sure if I'm wrong, will be happy to correct me, but I don't think the economics work out in your favor for just doing like a little small home system at the price of Bitcoin currently.
No, the price of Bitcoin currently does support a mining business because the price is so high. The price is 66,000 or something around there as we speak. So it costs probably $15,000 to $20,000 per Bitcoin to mine. And if you're going to get a $66,000 asset, it makes sense. It's when the price comes down that it doesn't make as much sense to mine, when the price is low, because the cost is fixed.
Yeah, I'm looking at this schedule of how much I can make, and it's confusing, and I'm not even going to try. Well, that's